Hello, everyone, and welcome to our new interview. Today, my guest is Peder Lindell. He's an actor, pilot, and a creative. His work spans theater, film, and voice performance. He's a fellow Minnesotan, like me, but has also traveled all over the world. Peter began his professional acting journey at just 11 years old in local theater before training and performing in major stage productions and graduating with a degree in theater arts from Loyola Marymount University. His screen credits include roles in Kilter, Blue Check, and a breakout part as Morgie in Disney's Descendants: The Rise of Red. In my novel and our short film Scraps, Peter brings the lead character Gus Shepard to life and has also narrated the Scraps audiobook, which you can also go listen to now. Beyond acting, Peter is a pilot and a multi-sport athlete known for his wild global adventures and commitment to his craft of acting. Also, he's a jolly, kind, and hardworking person I'm proud to call my friend. Peter, welcome. How are you doing today?
So good. I'm so happy to be here, Matthew.
Yeah, we've been talking about it for a while. Like, we did the audiobook in September of last year, and we did the short film about 3 years ago. And part of the rollout of the audiobook is we wanted to have a deep dive chat about it all. So here we are.
Yeah.
And you're also recording TikTok live. It's great that he's like a
Yep.
Gen Z, like great with social media, and I'm just like I'm not that great. So Peter's covering that.
Yeah, we got, our live friends right here.
Very, very cool. Yeah, we're gonna I have some questions prepared, but also Peter will probably pepper in some from the fans because honestly, a majority of the fans who love Scraps come from Peter or Dorian, right? So it's really, really great to have them involved. Okay, so let's take it back. Obviously, we've been working together for about 3 years now, off and on. But tell me about acting very, very young. That's when it all started for you. What
Mm.
about performance was first what captured your attention about performance when you were a child?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think I had a very different experience than a majority of child actors. I think a lot of child actors grew up, doing pilot seasons in LA or perhaps growing up, in theater in New York. And if anything, I think my childhood acting experience was probably more reciprocating of a theater world,
Mm,
specifically like New York or Chicago or whatever hub you want to go with. But I grew up in Minnesota, which actually has the highest number of theaters per capita in the country. Per capita, that's the catch.
mm,
But it is a lovely atmosphere of artistic work and theater and film, and actually a lot of film is growing there,
yeah.
which is going to be really cool to see. But specifically about performance, what captured my eye, I don't know, I think it was a lot of watching people who were years ahead of me in the industry who had made this a career and a lifestyle, and seeing the passion and being a bit in awe, and having my idols and, specific people who sort of guided me, gently into the industry and in such a lovely way. I mean, we've all heard different horror stories of child actors who have had, rough upbringings, but
Mhm.
I honestly could only say good and gooder things about, my time growing up as an actor. It was wonderful. I have
And you said
so many
specific
cherished memories.
Great, great. And then you said specifically, certain inspirations, like certain people or certain shows. Which were examples of that? Like, was there a certain person or a certain movie or a certain theater show you saw that really was like, I'm gonna be that one day?
Yeah, 100%. I have a couple different stories I tell, but I attribute, most of my inspiration to the children's theater in Minneapolis. Well, I don't know. I don't attribute my inspiration to anything. Like, it's a conglomerate, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
But I grew up going we had, like, season tickets to the Children's Theater Company in Minneapolis, and I remember, like, looking at the stage, and the theater was so big, and the stage was so big, and I was like, "Wow," like, there's kids kinda my age doing that. Like, I could maybe
Mm,
go do that. So I started doing auditions. I eventually, ended up working there several times, and it became a home, a wonderful place, and I think that was one of them. Other than that, there were a couple different people, Bane Belke and Wendy Lair. These are niche sort of call outs, but they were sort of my first professional, inspirations in the industry. Otherwise, Tyler Michaels was a huge one, and he's
mm,
a bit of an acting star in Minneapolis if you're aware, and he started a theater company, and I worked with him several times throughout the throughout my childhood. I don't know what to call it.
Mm,
And he is truly an inspiration. He's a fantastic actor, director, writer, producer, the list. So
cool.
a lot of good people.
Amazing. And then, so then obviously you did started with theater. So what from learning from those people or from that time got you into screen acting, right? Because you eventually moved to more short films, to
Mhm.
Disney projects, to our project.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to dictate how it happened, to be honest. I did a lot of theater and opera and choir and all sorts of that stuff when I was young. And then I want to say it was in junior year of high school, maybe somewhere in high school. I started doing student films at a university in Minnesota, and I actually created some of my own films with a friend of mine in town, which are fantastic little short films for the fact that we had a two-person crew and two actors, and
I
we
mean,
were like, you know, running into the wilderness to make these films.
hmm
So it was kind of a wild upbringing in that, and then through that, I was like, "Film is really awesome. It's different. I'm learning, I'm learning, I'm learning." And I started auditioning. I worked with, I kind of found my team that helped me move forward in the industry.
hmm
And yeah, I eventually found my way to Scraps and to Disney, and it has been such a crazy journey. I'm just so grateful for every day.
Yeah, and, I think you some of these short films and the things you worked on really early on may have been, like, part of your IMDb page or what we had saw when we were looking for actors, like, I bet some of
Yes.
those popped up, like, I know, like, some, like, horror stuff, it just
Yes.
like yeah, so, like, we were like, "Oh," like and you just had a really great range of emotion, which we're like, "Oh, this could be really useful for us for Gus." So, like, speaking of which, like, I have my angle of how we found you, but what first drew you to Scraps? How did you get involved? And what was that process like for you on your side?
Yeah, so I wanna say I was in Costa Rica on a bus, and I got a DM from Ryan, our
Mhm,
director, writer, producer, the list, we're all writers, directors, producers in this industry. Um, and he was like, "Hey, I'd love to see you audition for this role," sent me sort of some of the materials, and I remember reading through the script and thinking, "This is fantastic, this is beautiful, this is like, um, skateboarding," you know?
mhm,
And in the mountains, and it
mhm,
tells this beautiful love story of being young and discovering who you are and definitely a coming of age sort of summer love. And what a what a beautiful story. I mean, who wouldn't want to dive into that? And obviously, as I became more involved in the process and eventually was cast as Gus, um I just learned more and more about how much I love this world.
yeah.
Yeah, it was yeah.
From our end, like, we had made, like, backstage postings for all the roles, because
Mhm.
we didn't really, know, like, actors that could get involved, and we had got a few Gus performers in, and we're like, they weren't really matching what we were wanting, or they didn't have any kind of skateboarding experience, or they were way too far away, all these different things, and then we kind of went on IMDb and, like, searched, like, skateboarder, like, team,
Yeah.
like, found terms, and that's where I think you popped up with a few other boys, and we had Ryan DM you all. And then just when you guys sent it in tapes, that's when we were able to see like who really was like the cream of the crop. And I just remember you in your overalls, and
Yes.
obviously you were
Yes.
very eager, you were very adorable, and you mentioned Minnesota, which was great for Ryan and I. You mentioned skateboarding,
Right.
and you had like a really great infectious energy where a lot of people played Gus really sad, like only sad, and obviously he
Mm.
has like some sad moments, but what we really liked about yours was you had like a complex, like almost like ups and downs in your performance, and we really enjoyed that you kind of had these moments of being shy or being like nervous and unsure of yourself, which Gus is in the short, but also were excited about other things, and having Gus be excited to try new things or learn about skating or learn about wood shop stuff, that was important for him as well. So you having both sides was what I think cinched the role, as well as like you had a lot of passion. And we early
Mm,
on, like, making short films, like you don't have money, you don't have a lot of resources, so what you need is
yeah,
passion and being willing to like make it happen. And you had that,
yeah.
so that's what.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like so many people tend to forget that because that's why we're here, because we love
Mhm,
what we do. And also, I just wanna pinch out a little moment of your little paragraph there.
mm,
It's so unique to have this sort of conversation and feedback after the fact with a role, having booked it or not booked it, especially from an actor's perspective. So this is really fun to sort of dive into that. And I think if there are any actors out there who are watching this, it's it's really special for me, and maybe you can get something out of this as well. But it is cool to hear, like, what you saw versus what I was giving,
yeah.
and, of course, fun to reminisce. I do remember those overalls. I think I have them back there in the closet.
Well, I think that also it's interesting that you say, 'cause I bet a lot of actors, their experience is more just, like, trying to, endless auditions, and then they show up, they do the work, and then it's kind of over. Maybe if they're
Mm,
lucky, they have, like, some kind of press run to talk about it, but with you and with Dorian, like, we've kinda had, like, ongoing conversations as we've kind of just made more projects, like, from the short film to the book to the audiobook and more stuff in the future, so it's been nice to, like, continually grow with both of you and learn from you guys and yeah, like give you feedback and like yeah, and like when you guys get certain fan interactions, we hear about that, and it's really sweet to. It's not just a one and done job for you guys, and
mm.
it's we've been able to all grow together, which is kind of nice, for sure.
Yeah, definitely, 100%, and it's been so cool to, um see you grow as well with having the book come out
Yeah,
and just see your passion for this project flourish as well. I mean, Matthew has put in so many hours to make this such a wonderful thing for all of y'all to watch and over here. And I think you can't move forward without sort of thanking this guy for the world that he's brought for us. I mean,
well, thank you,
Scraps
Peter.
is awesome, and I'm totally biased, but you got a
Yes.
master right
Well,
here.
also, interestingly, to that point, like, I think what's really important for Ryan Chance and I was we knew we didn't have a ton of background in making our own projects to this
Mm,
level. So we needed to kind of prove we could do it, right? So we had to first make the short film and then doing all these like other mediums, right? The novel, the audiobook, making interviews, putting out social content. Like we are proving that not only can we make the feature film version of this, but we can make other projects in the future, right? Because whether it be me or Ryan or Chance or all of us, like we're not just doing one thing, one and done, and we only bring that to the entire
mhm.
project. We're bringing multiple layers to have a whole ecosystem around Scraps, like build the whole world. And
Yeah,
for this project and future ones, like that's I think it's really important. So yeah, like being a real creator and to your fans who are watching or actors or young writers, producers, whatever, in the end of the day, you cannot wait for someone to give you a job or wait for someone to kind of like give you your dream ticket. You kind of have to learn to make things yourself. I think that's really, really important.
yeah, yeah, 100%, especially in, the studio-dominated industry that we live in, and and that's a wonderful thing, but it's so cool to see that you don't have to do that, you
Yeah.
know? Like Matthew was saying.
Or like a big there's it might be like a Steven Spielberg quote where or someone like him, but where it's like, "Do one for them and one for you," where, like, you take on these larger studio projects or corporate gigs or, like, full-time jobs that will pay your bills and keep you, like, affording rent or your mortgage or whatever, but then making the time to make your own passion short films or your own pieces while you're doing that allows you to do one for them, one for you, so you're not fully burning out, giving away what your art to a conglomerate, but you're also not struggling to survive only doing short films, right?
Yeah,
Like a mix, I think, is a great balance.
definitely.
Okay, so was there a moment, when you were preparing for Scraps that felt different compared to other roles, or how has Scraps been different for you?
Hmm. Well, what I always tell people is every role that I get, and every role meaning every audition that I
Hmm.
do, every script that I read is different. It's sort of like it's like a puzzle, and you don't really know the exact solution, but you kind of figure out the right way to get it done. In the case of Scraps and Gus, it was so well. Let me backtrack. A ton of the vital work for my character and for me that happened was once I got to Montana.
Mm,
I had done a bunch of preparation beforehand, but there was just a bunch of sort of uh, secrets that I hadn't discovered yet. And I discovered them once I got to Montana, and we were having these conversations with Ryan and you about how your lives influence this work as well. And
mm,
there was something about the place that we were staying at was right by a river with the mountains in the background and rainbows and rain clouds. And I would sit down by the river or have conversations down by the river and journal about my character, and I would just make these discoveries, and it was just so raw and real. It was almost like a type of method acting or method preparation that I didn't expect, you know?
mhm.
And a lot of the best work happened right there. And I just like sort of have it like built up as a golden sort of memory in my mind because it was such a special time that week and a half that we were there, I
Yeah,
think.
it really was a magical, like, week or so, and I totally get why you would feel like going to Montana really helped you understand Gus more because, you've been traveled many places from Minnesota, worked in and lived in and studied in LA, but kind of going somewhere fully separate from where you wouldn't plan to be, and then just like Gus, who is going back to Montana for the first time in a long while, you were there and feeling all the
Yeah.
new moments as well too, so,
Yeah.
yeah, air felt different, the mountains, and it makes sense that when you're in his clothes, feeling his air, feeling the space, it would make you understand him more.
And, honestly, that's so funny because you pointed out how I was coming from Minnesota to Montana. It's
Mhm,
it's like I unknowingly was starting to live Gus's life for a
mhm,
week,
mhm.
That was I don't know, it was so perfect.
So perfect, and we keep saying this, like, it really did feel magical because, like, you mentioned, like, we spotted the rainbow, just there were so many things that could have gone wrong but went smoothly, and we're really, really grateful for all of it.
Yeah.
But when you were on set and we were starting to film, was there any aspects of when you were embodying Gus that surprised you? Whether it's like, from wearing the clothes or when we were doing certain scenes, was there anything that surprised you about Gus?
Sorry, I someone said something really funny in the live chat right there,
Share it.
and, I got distracted.
Oh.
Um, Anything that surprised me about Gus? You know, I'm trying to remember. I think one of my favorite surprises
Mhm,
was the clothes, I think. Sort of just well, no, it wasn't the clothes. I feel like we kinda already talked about this, but
mm,
the being in the world brought about so many discoveries. And since I was in Montana, like walking through the field, wearing
mhm,
his clothes, and talking to Dorian and
mhm,
you, and being at the skate park while other skaters were there.
mhm.
This wasn't like a closed off set with just background actors. We were filming. Well,
With
whoever
the
wanted to
locals.
be there was there,
Mhm.
and just with my interactions, I think brought about different discoveries that
Yeah.
I brought into the work at the time.
Mhm. Since it's been a while since the short film has been out, have you ever gotten approached by fans either in person or, messages that you get? Like, what do people say the most if they like it, what they liked about it?
I think people just love the summer love story. I think it's
Yeah.
very oftentimes I see comments about how relatable the story is,
Mhm.
and certain moments of the story, obviously with the iconic line at the end of the film, um, when Bridger says to Gus,
Oh, if you were a girl, I'd kiss you right now.
yeah, I think I see a lot of comments of that.
Mhm.
Have of people having lived that exact experience,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah. That's very
And
common.
that's kinda cool because you're telling a story that isn't just your story, and
Mhm.
maybe in the beginning you thought it was I thought it was Matthew's story and Ryan's story, but it really is a story that's shared by a lot of people, and that's an important thing to throw the mirror up to society and allow people to look at themselves and maybe see someone else go through their shoes, and that can be a very therapeutic thing.
Yeah, we got, like, a lot of comments from, like, much older, like, gay men who never had an experience like,
Yeah,
um, Gus and Bridger always wish they had, or plenty of people who had the exact same thing with someone during a summer fling,
yeah,
or, like, a lot of women really related with the story as well, like, just maybe they can't be either of the 2 partners, but they're like, "Wow, like, I wish I had someone yearn for me in that sort of way."
yeah,
And there's so many other like there's now like I feel like more and more really great like gay romance stories coming out, which is exciting. And I think how they're all different in their own unique way is what gives it like the variety that we're all wanting. So I'm eager for Scraps to keep developing, as well as like to see other cool gay romance stories coming out. It's really exciting.
definitely. I just want to take a second.
Please do.
Anybody in the live chat, if there are any questions about the stuff that you've heard or about Scraps, Matthew, myself, throw them in the chat and I'll take a peek. I've been doing little looks here to see if any of y'all have questions, but feel free to chime in and we'll bring you into the interview.
Amazing. And then whenever one does pop up, just let me know and we'll swing it in. Okay, so now after the short film, obviously, let's move to the audiobook. So, from my end, how this happened was we knew that the short film did end on a cliffhanger, and we were always working towards a feature film, and that's still in process. But it was going to be a long time before anyone could, know what happens to Gus and Bridger after that bonfire moment. So
Yeah,
in 2024, I wrote the full story of the Scraps short film and went beyond that moment with our novel, and we put that out and right after the short film premiered in 2025. And then we knew we always wanted to do an audiobook, and we wanted to have you narrate Gus and the whole story. So yeah, how was that process? Do you remember when I first reached out to you, or what were your thoughts on either wanting to read the book or be a part of the audiobook? From your perspective, what was that next evolution?
of the of what
Like how we moved
knowing
to
that
scrap audiobook.
you know honestly I didn't expect it. I mean
Mm,
we had talked about the book that
mhm,
it might happen, and I know you were in process with that. But no, it was such a wonderful surprise, and I think it's so cool that we made it happen because it's just another way for people to access this story. And audiobooks, of course, are so widely used and such an easily accessible way of diving into this world that I think it's really awesome that we made it happen. And I mean, filming or recording the whole audiobook, that's a whole other story, but that was also such a wonderful time. Um, I we've gotten a couple questions here.
shoot
A
for it. Go
couple
for it.
people have asked what were our favorite moments during the filming process.
Of the short
Do you
film?
have a yeah, do you have a favorite moment from when you were on set?
Yes.
I know this is backtracking just a little bit,
Yeah,
but
that's fine. Okay, so for me, I loved the diner scene because like it was fun to be around the food and everyone was really jolly. It was sunny outside, so that was great. But really, the bonfire scene. I mean, that was like the highlight of the short film, like
yeah,
writing wise. And you boys did such a good job. It was so cool to have a night scene go well.
yeah,
And yeah, so really, I would say the bonfire scene and being behind the monitor and seeing it all kind of play out. It was bringing tears to my eyes. I remember Marley and
yeah,
Chance were right next to me, and they were tearing up. It was great. How about you?
yeah. I honestly, I'd agree that bonfire scene was truly such a crazy night on set. We filmed from, sundown to sunup, and I mean, if you've never spent a night in the mountains, that is a different thing.
Mhm,
Just spending a night in the mountains is beautiful, seeing the sun go down, the stars come out, and hearing the bugs and the animals out in the woods and the wind, and when the sun rises, the birds start chirping, and then also filming such a dramatic scene at the same
mhm.
time. It was an encapsulation of a lot of beauty.
And we were lucky because we were really high up, like, not really on a mountain, but like a really high hill up in like the Montana kind of like rural
Yeah.
part. So there was a beautiful view, so you could really see all the mountains. And our goal with the shooting for the night scene was to finish it before the sun came up and before the birds chirped. So we were like kind
Yeah.
of trying to under the wire, but eventually it
Yep.
was like perfect
Yep.
time, and we got all we needed, and then it finished, and then we had that sunrise and the birds on our way driving home. So it was great.
Yeah.
Okay, but when we did move into the audiobook, so from my end, how that worked was we knew that the audiobook or the novel was finished and out and people were enjoying it, and we always wanted to do an audiobook version because, as you said, like, it's more approachable. If someone's not really an actual book reader or they don't have the time, having an audiobook is a great way to still consume a story, and we wanted to
Mhm.
have scraps in every medium that we could. So the audiobook was always a goal, and then when I had like I put forward the budget to make it happen. We knew we wanted you because you work so well. We knew that it would be a really tight shooting window, and you're very great at what you do. So going with someone that we going with someone that we knew would do it great and like efficiently and bring all the same emotion and not have to go backtrack like with another new narrator was
Mhm.
the smartest move. So I texted you. You said yes, of course. Just let me know when. And we planned for September. And for you guys don't know, I mean, I probably should make some kind of video to show like our run of show and like all the things
Yeah.
that I prepped for because it really is
Yeah.
wild. Like
It
I had
was.
a goal to get it done, in those that weekend that we had. It was like 2 days, and I was like, to be honest, I was like, I don't know if we will be able to finish it, but like everyone came together and that run of show. So basically, like, so I was there, Peter was there, he brought his father, which was wonderful, and then I had two friends from my job who came to help PA, and I had a whole run of show where it's like down to like every 20 minutes we're doing something that was keeping us on track. And the goal was essentially to do 8 chapters every day. And most audiobooks take like more than 4 days. They'll shoot like a little bit and then come back like weeks later to do pickups,
Mhm.
and they don't do any kind of video, it's just the audio. But I
Yeah.
was like, "Listen, we have Peter here, we have to get as most as we can while he's in the area." So, yeah, we recorded him on audio, for the book, and it's, like, really clean, crisp audio we're really proud of with good mics. But then also, we had a great studio to shoot in, so I did all the set deck for it, made it really beautiful, and we filmed with 2 cameras, and we had, like, wardrobe changes, I had the Q&As, we did, like he would basically read the full chapter, and then it would be like marked down as he's reading without messing him up if there was a little flub here or he forgot a word or whatever. And then after the
Mhm.
chapter was done, we felt happy, we'd go back and do pickups, and we were just so efficient with it. So yeah,
Yeah.
how
We
was that kind of show, or like were you intimidated when you saw that, or how did the weekend from your mind go?
I mean, I wasn't intimidated because I knew that I was in such a safe space. I mean, having known you for several years now,
Mhm,
I knew that whatever was gonna happen, we were gonna figure it out
mhm,
and we would make it happen because
yeah,
we were there and we had a goal in mind.
mhm,
And yeah, so no worries there. I think one of the discoveries that I made, being this was my first audiobook that I recorded, at least of this size,
mhm,
was how easy it was to like mess up like just a word, and you got to get all the words right so you can like exactly right so you can
mhm.
publish them. You can't sort of paraphrase some things.
They have to match.
And yeah, exactly. And in acting, a lot of times, there's improv and paraphrasing, not always, but that was fun, and I think I caught on pretty quickly. There were some paragraphs that or chapters that we went through very quickly. You would have thought would have taken a while.
I cannot tell you, Peter, how impressive it is because, like, I just like you, I'm on camera for work a lot and I speak a lot, but it's really hard to read text and have it there be no flubs. But guys who are watching, Peter could not only read and say the words accurately and perform, emotionally and do different voices. There was a few times when I would track it where we would go through 4 pages with no mistakes. And I was like, this is crazy because I was expecting there like because and I would say in most audiobook recordings, it's very common where like maybe every other line there is a flub. And it's
Yeah.
normal. You tell them keep going, we'll come back to it, or if they naturally catch it themselves, they'll redo it, but it's normal like to have a mistake almost every other line. But there was a few moments where Peter would go for like 3 pages or 4 pages, 2 pages, no errors. I was like, great. Um, yeah, and then it was always just like some small little thing that was an easy thing to pick up. So I would say every chapter we usually recorded for about 30 to 40 minutes, and then we would get through the whole thing, and there's barely any like acting changes. You know the story well, so it went smoothly. And then just
Mhm.
there would be like a few things like maybe like you forgot one word or whatever, and we would easily
Yeah.
finish the pickups in like 10 minutes. So like the fact that you did really well, and I think me, Peyton, and Laura Nell were on our crap. We were really on our shit to like keep that
Yeah.
efficient. It made it go really well. So very grateful.
Yeah. No, we had such a wonderful team to make it happen. Someone
And
just
also,
asked,
oh yes,
someone just asked where they can listen to the audiobook.
You can listen to the audiobook on Audible. You can just search for Scraps, a gay skateboarding romance novel on Audible. If you want to listen to it in your ears, you'll see the beautiful art from our book. You'll hear Peter's beautiful voice. If you want the hardcover or paperback or ebook version of the novel, you can also find it on Amazon.com. Just search for Scraps, a gay skateboarding romance novel. And you can go, like the audiobook will be linked through Amazon.com as well. And then we are putting out like the video versions on YouTube uh, for people to also watch if they also prefer watching their audio content, but that it will be spaced out. It's going to be all throughout the entire year, and we may not release all of it on video just because we
Mhm.
want to keep like spoiler free, obviously. So the best way to enjoy the full audiobook right now is go to Audible and download it and enjoy it.
And someone asked if there is gonna be a sequel movie to the book.
So people are always asking for like a part two of Scraps, but there might be some confusion there where we're not going to have a part two of the short film. We're aiming for a feature film of the entire story. So if you love the short film, there's no part two of that. There's just, we're going to have a feature film that does the entire narrative, right? So the short film that you saw on YouTube is like the middle two-fifths or so of the story, I would say. So the book, the audiobook that Peter read, and the future feature film will have like the beginning part of Gus's summer when he first arrives in Montana, some of the same moments you saw in the short film, and then there's a whole like more than half after the bonfire where you see the rest of Gus and Bridger's summer. So the best way, if you really want to know, you're dying to know what happened to Gus and Bridger after what happened in the short film, is to read the book or listen to the audiobook for right now, because we're aiming for the
Mhm.
feature film, but we can never guarantee that. But you can know the whole story now by reading the book or audiobook.
Yeah, so Audible, go search it up, Scraps: A Gay Skateboarding, story?
Romance, romance.
Romance, sorry, yep, novel. Um, and, yeah, so go check it out.
Mhm. And then you mentioned like, how this is like your first like official long-term audiobook. One thing that
Mhm.
I'm excited for you and for us is like now hopefully you can do more of that in the future. We hope this is one that you're
Yeah,
proud of to put on your resume. But in addition to it just hopefully sounding good and maybe for future jobs for you, like people love the audiobook itself, but the fact that we, feel free to, use that run of show or show these videos as like proof of like, I think we went above and beyond what normal audiobooks do. And I hope like,
100%.
I know for future novels I write or future productions, like I want to do this again. So being able to, yeah, like go above and beyond and have like visual video proof of you working on it is pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, it's been so cool to document the whole process, and I think so important with indie projects like this. Uh, Hi, I've missed you too. Um, yeah, I think, it's very much a group effort within, you know, the producers and the writers and all of us who have been working on it, the actors, but also within the community who falls in love with the story, and I think that's why personally I love indie productions
Hmm.
because it's that I don't know, it's why I fell in love with film in the first place and theater and all of that because that's where the true passion is, where 'cause I think people lose that as they get more. I think I mentioned that earlier. People lose
Hmm.
that a little bit sometimes when they get more involved in the industry.
Yeah, when you like get to like a certain point in your career where you're like working for like a Disney or a bigger producer, like a my hair is a little bit wild. One second here. When you have like bigger studios or bigger corporations, like they still hopefully care about the art, but at the end of the day, it's a business for them, right? They need
Mhm,
to make money, they need to hit all their bottom lines. Whereas when you do an
mhm.
independent short film or your own books or whatever, you can tell it's like they're not going to be making a ton of money. The goal here is the art. And
Yeah,
so, yeah, I'm glad you touched on that. And I think it's a medium that will never die because there will always be people who are young and hungry to create something. And so, yeah, short films are really truly special.
and I just got a question in the chat.
Mhm.
They're wondering what the inspiration was for creating this story.
Great. Okay, so it's comes from both Ryan Nordin and myself. So Ryan Nordin is the director of the short film, and he is my co-writer and co-producer of the short film. And then I wrote the novel, but Ryan, of course, like gave feedback and that kind of stuff. But so the inspiration was a lot from Ryan's own life of like him having like male friends when he was younger and like straight friends and falling in love with that first straight boy. I have similar experiences from my time. He went to Montana for film school, so he was in the mountains and he was able to experience that lush nature. He also was really involved with like skiing and other kind of like outside nature sports. So that was his side of the story. And then for me, I had a female friend, funny enough, named Tara Shea, who was like my kind of like gay guide in coming out. And when I was first unsure about myself, she really saw me and like welcomed me into like being a queer person. And I felt that side was really needed for our
Mhm.
story. And then a lot of like the individual lines or certain like quotes from the short film and from the book are things that have been said to me or I've said. That like the whole father and son element of it comes from my own life, also with Ryan and his parents. So it really is a mixture of a lot of our experiences, and also
Mhm.
just like we wanted, like if we were to live in this time, because during 2003 I was like 7 years old, but
Mhm.
the goal of writing the story was when I was that 7-year-old boy, not knowing what not being out, not knowing what love would look like, not looking, knowing what my future would look like. What kind of love story would have inspired me to accept myself at that age? So that was always the goal. And it started off with Ryan, like he had like a few pages of an idea, and then we came together to flesh it out into a short film script, then a feature film script. We made the short film. Then I wrote the novel to extend the story that kind of matched our feature film at the time. Then the audiobook, and now we're working on putting the audiobook out as well as working on the feature film.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully that answered their question.
Yeah, 100%. And it's so special to hear it straight from the source.
Yeah.
I think it's, um yeah.
Okay, so now back to the narrating. So how was your experience narrating the Scraps audiobook compared to performing it on camera? So what are the actual like technical differences that you learned doing that?
That's a fun question. It was so cool to relive the story in such a different way, in such a raw way,
Mhm.
because it was just me in the room reading this book. It was like, I don't know, it was almost like kind of like it's if you took the anything scary about a Black Mirror episode and made it just like a more like happy, enjoyable thing. It felt kind of like a Black Mirror episode because I had my book, the Scraps book open,
Mhm.
and I was like kind of locked in the room with a bunch of cameras on me
Yeah.
and mics and stuff.
Mhm.
And I was going back through the story, except I was living in each character. I wasn't just Gus reacting to the world around me. I was feeling each person. And I know we talked about, adding voices
Mhm.
and giving sort of the feels to the different characters as I read through it. I think if you guys watch the videos, you'll see that sort of journey that I went on. And that was really special. Like I don't you I don't know if you mentioned this earlier, but I started tearing up, you started tearing up at the
Mhm.
different points because it was like we were watching the movie, except we were watching the movie through this book.
Yeah.
And that was really special. And I made some discoveries there as well because it's like stepping into someone else's shoes when you read that when you read the book and go through the different characters. And there was nothing like that in the short film or in the filming process.
Yeah. And
Except for conversations had with someone, but yeah, so that was really, really cool.
yeah, and, like, to give Peter credit, there was about maybe, I think, 12 to 16 different characters that needed different voices, for the audiobook, and I gave Peter a little, like, a key sheet, but the fact that he was able, and we, like, kinda color coded the script to help out a little bit, but the fact that he was able to keep them straight and differentiate was, you know, amazing. I'm very, very, grateful that he did that well, and then, yeah, like, I think it is really interesting because I'm sure as an actor, you come in as Gus for the short film. You have like kind of one
Mhm.
POV, but when you
Yeah.
read the book, like, you really had multiple, and you had to really play different like personalities and different emotions, and maybe they're you're playing two people who are arguing in one scene, which is very
Yeah.
unique, I'm sure. Um, and then also like when you were doing it, obviously we were kind of out of the room watching you on the monitor, but
Mhm.
it was really fascinating because it took me back to times where I did like little stuff in high school as well for like performance, and it almost felt like you were reading sides or like performing with a friend, like just like really trying things out because we didn't like do a ton of rehearsal for the audiobook, right? You didn't like
Yeah.
read it multiple times out loud to practice. Like you read it once and then you came and you like performed it. And
Yeah.
our goal was to get your most raw, real, in the moment reactions and emotions, and it came out. So it felt like you were yeah, just like it felt fresh to your mind, like just like when a person says something for the first time, they feel it. And yeah, there was multiple moments where the emotional moments I wanted people to cry while reading, you were able to perform them so well. And then me, Laurenelle, and Peyton were like in the corner, like tearing up. So like you successfully did that. And even just the other day, I had a friend named Claire who I work with sometimes, and she texted me that she's currently listening to it, and she said that like chapter 6 and chapter 7 got her, and she was like crying. And I was like, oh, like tell me about it. And then after she texted me, I went and re-listened to the audiobook that chapter, which I was there for. I wrote it, all that stuff. And I was sitting in my chair and I was like, you got me again. I was listening to you and I cried again, like, months later. I was like, wow, like, so yeah, it was very effective, and I'm
Amazing.
glad it all worked out.
And what chapter was that,
So the
if you
chapter
remember?
7 is the sleepover. So that's actually one of my favorite chapters. There's many great chapters, but I love sleepover. And if you ever have a
Mhm.
chance, later today, like go listen to that, because why I love that chapter is people expect like something a little spicy or a little bit romantic because it's called sleepover, and there is some moments of that, but not to give any kind of spoiler to your fans, but who haven't listened yet, but in that chapter in Sleepover, there's a moment before they go to bed where they're watching like home movies of Gus when he was a kid with his mother who had
Yeah.
passed away. And that scene is, I think, really, it's like it comes out of left field. You don't expect it. It's so emotional and so raw. And when you're expecting a spicy or like, romantic chapter and it's like hits you with grief, you're like, whoa. And so
Yeah,
it made me tear
chills.
up. Yeah, made me tear up, and Claire got teared up. And that's the first chapter, I think, where it starts getting really, like, there's other chapters, of course, but like it gets deep and really personal between Gus and Bridger. And it really sets the stage for them to get even deeper later on.
Yeah. So, if any of y'all are gonna go listen to the audiobook, look out for the sleepover.
And also what's fun about the sleepover chapter, chapter 7 in the novel and in the audiobook, is that it's actually taking place during the same time as the short film. So the sleepover happens in our story before the bonfire. So I think if Gus and Bridger didn't have this sleepover a few nights before, they probably
Mm,
wouldn't have been close enough to have that deep conversation they have at the bonfire, which then
mhm.
elevates their relationship, right? So the whole point of the book and the whole point of a romance story is that you can't just like have them kissing day one, right? You have to like really build their bond and their friendship. And we have multiple moments
Yeah.
of like going forward, pulling back, getting to know them deeper, and then like having mistakes, having embarrassments. And
Mhm.
like so many parts of our short film or the novel wouldn't have been able to take place if the previous chapter hadn't gone the way it did, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, sleepover I think is very important, and it leads into the bonfire.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we were recording, did you have any certain rituals that helped with like your voice or the day of? Like I know we gave you water and we had snacks and that kind of stuff, but was there anything that helped you keep your voice crisp, clear, and perform well?
I mean, it's always a plethora of vocal warm-ups that I'm sure all of y'all have gone through. And yeah, keeping the articulators warm and articulating because after a full day of reading through so many chapters, you do kind of start to slur your words a little bit. I mean, at least they aren't as crisp as they maybe were at the beginning of the day. And yeah, so hot water and honey is always a healer. And honestly, water in general,
Yeah.
especially after some of the yelling scenes. Like
Mhm.
when I remember doing one of the scenes with Max and he was yelling, if you guys have seen or know the book, that scene was definitely a little demanding on the voice, but I think I mean I didn't feel like my voice was dead too much after the several days. I think we honestly could have kept going,
Yeah,
you
it
know.
was great. I think you were really good at, and I told you from the start, like the moment you need a break to take, a bathroom break, a voice
Mhm.
break, whatever, just let us know. And you were great at that. You did up until either you were stressed or like, strained, or you needed more water, and then you were great at like, I'm gonna take a little bit of a break, and we're like, okay, great, and it was smooth. And honestly, you mentioned any kind of like deterioration over time, you can't tell at all, so don't worry about
Yeah,
that.
wonderful.
Okay, and then obviously we also mentioned this, like there's many times of going like, a lot of emotions that, whether it be
Mhm.
from like romantic and sweet to like really angry, we had fights in the book. Um, how did you navigate between vulnerability moments and like, more aggressive moments and that control in your performance?
In the book?
Yeah,
In the audiobook?
yeah.
You know, it I think I navigated it from an actor's perspective,
Mhm,
reading the audiobook. Each character that I was reading, it's like I was kinda living all of their lives at the same time in my mind,
mhm,
and when I started reading another character's voice, I was, like, running their track in the audiobook, and now I had a new perspective as to who Gus was, who Tara was, and how I feel about them, how my intentions in saying a certain line totally change when I jump between characters, and that was a little difficult when it happened quickly, but actually, I don't the idea of it was difficult, but in the moment, it did flow really well because I felt like I was understanding everything that was going on, and of course, it helped, like, having read the book priorly and knowing the story.
mhm.
I definitely had a lot of preparation to allow that to happen, but yeah, it I don't know, it was smooth.
Yeah, what I wanted to from that and being there on the day, what felt to me what was happening was we didn't really like I didn't say, "Okay, this is gonna be like your big fight, like get angry." It was like very much
Yeah.
just like let you do you, right? Like the
Yeah.
goal was to not interfere and let you just follow where the words took you. And especially for me, having written it, there's certain ways I maybe wanted something to sound or for a
Mhm.
scene to go. But the fact that I didn't have to do anything and I would just like let the words speak for themselves and you follow it where you wanted it to follow. And it came to the same conclusion that I wanted. I was like, great, like we're hitting the emotional moments through the words that it should, give off. So yeah,
Yeah.
like I think because but the question was kind of getting to like, was it like, did you intentionally change things or did it just happen naturally? And I think the answer is it was kind of natural.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I guess that speaks to the the power of the book and that it was written well, you know?
Well, thank you. Thank
Because
you.
it turned out how you wanted, and that's really cool.
Yeah, and we even said, like, it turned out how I wanted, but there were moments that even caught me by surprise where, like, obviously I wrote the words, but you would say them in a way that was like, "Oh, like, that is what I meant," but you went deeper, which I really loved, like, and so,
Mhm.
yeah, multiple times where the way you said it had more layers of emotion than I was planning on, and I was like, "Yes." So, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, thank you.
Awesome. I love that.
Okay, okay, so now you've done many diverse roles, right? From Disney to indie. What kinds of roles or stories are you most drawn to generally, and what are you hoping for next?
Ooh.
Mhm,
That's a good question. I have all sorts of hopes and dreams and
mhm,
things that I wanna accomplish in this short life that we have.
mhm,
Um, where to start? You know, I don't have like a specific story or genre that I'm like, this is what I'm always looking for. This is like, I'm not going to do other stuff. I love to be surprised. I love getting a script and being like, whoa, I didn't consider this, but yes, this is really cool and wonderfully written. I think there's something here. And moving forward with the audition is always really fun. I think some of my like sort of special like I would really like to do dreams. I would love to do some action stuff. I'm like Matthew said earlier, I'm a bit of an adrenaline junkie and
mhm,
I love being outdoors, skydiving, scuba diving, cliff jumping, flying planes, all this stuff. I mean, is would be perfect for like a spy action like Tom Cruise, um, Mission Impossible or Top Gun type of deal.
mhm.
So that would be very cool. I have some different projects in the running and ideas happening there that hopefully come to life. Beyond that, I don't know. I'd love to be surprised. I think
Cool.
there's definitely people I want to work with again.
Say it,
Some of my
manifest it.
friends, and yeah, yeah. I am a huge fan of Christopher Nolan, and I would love to end up in one of his films someday.
Mhm,
So,
mhm.
Chris,
Hit
let's
Peter's
talk.
line. Well, that's exciting because, like, yeah, like that's one thing that was so fun when we were first auditioning you. And the whole process was, you know, Gus is so shy, so like inward, and then to have Peter, who just is this like burst of energy, and like he does all these crazy things. It was like it's fun because I think that's the side that we were missing for Gus. That like we didn't want it to be
Mm,
visible. Like Gus wasn't jumping from planes or all these things,
right,
but
right,
having but Gus is someone who like pushes his life forward. He learns really quick. He pushes himself to be bold in small ways. And so having that more adventurous, bold side of you be your natural self allowed those moments in Gus to come out, which I think worked really well. And then back to like the whole like spy or action stuff, like I think I may have mentioned this to you back when we were doing scrap stuff, like in Montana. But like I also really love spy and action, like movies, stories, whatever. And I might have said that, but like, I would love to one day write some kind of spy action thing and cast you in it
right?
because yeah, like I can see you doing that 1,000%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be so fun.
Now, obviously, the acting side, like, do you ever hope to one day do your own kind of like, ownership creating, like, writing a story or producing, or are you hoping to more be the vessel of stories on the actor side?
Definitely the vessel. I mean, acting is my God, it's my love. It's my
Mhm.
passion.
Yeah.
I No matter where I am in the future, whatever happens, I will be performing and acting in some way. It is something that gives me true life. And yes, so that will be the world that I'm living in. But I mean I can't predict the future. I love
Yeah, yeah.
creating and producing, and I totally plan to direct and produce and write in the future as well. I think it's a process where a lot of times people do it all, and I
Yeah.
definitely plan on doing that. Um, yeah, so I can't wait to see what happens next and what will come.
Yeah. Uh,
There's a question in the
okay.
chat.
Mhm.
People really want to know if we have any advice for people oops, my phone is falling. If we have any advice for people struggling with their sexuality relating to the scrap story.
Ooh, okay. Well, do you wanna go first or should I?
Um, I think I don't know how to relate it to the scrap story.
Mm.
Like, I guess is the question like about scraps, or is it more personal? I'm gonna go with that. It's more personal. I
Yeah.
think there's no clear path to figuring out your sexuality and who you are. I think it's always a spectrum, and you have to try things, and you have to experiment, and you have to figure out who you are, and you're probably going to get it wrong and be like, "Oh, I don't really like that." Or, "Hey, this kind of feels like me." And maybe it's hard to feel that way, but there's nothing more important than being true to yourself and to those around you, because you can't go through life living a lie. I mean, you can, but it's an incredibly weighted, heavy thing to carry with you.
Yeah.
What about you?
And to go for, when it comes to sexuality in general, I think what's important to know is that there's no one size fits all answer, right? Like,
Mhm.
we all live our own life, whether like boys, like girls, like anyone in between, or no one. Really, this is your life to live. And what
Yeah.
matters most is connection, right? So whether you are connecting with someone in a romantic level, a friendship level, or connecting with yourself, I think that is what matters. And having stories that inspire you to connect deeper to that self. Like maybe I wouldn't have been able to figure out who I was as I have without certain movies or books or shows that I consumed. Right. So it's all about being open to embracing what the world shows you, going out and living life. Like don't be so afraid to
Yeah.
explore yourself that you don't make actions. Like ask people out, go to a new city or a new state or a new country just to like meet people because you never know who
Just
will come. Yeah.
just like how Gus
Yeah.
goes up to the skate park, you know?
Like, can you
I
imagine, like,
related
with
it
our
to the
story.
scraps story.
Yes, like, in our story, like, if Gus had never went to Montana, he would have never met Bridger, and he
Yeah.
would have never had his whole life open up. So just be open to life's changes and accept them with, like, an open heart and open mind, and then tying it back to, Scraps, like, this is a story that is very singular in one summer in rural Montana in
Mhm.
2003 with one boy. But somehow it's related with millions of people. And it's because it's very specific. And it's because whether they may not be in Montana ever or not be named Gus or not be gay, like people know what it feels to finally learn who you are and accept yourself. And they see themselves in Gus
Mhm.
as he's exploring and coming of age. And so my hope is that when people read Scraps, they find themselves kind of catapulted to like a time and a setting that's unique to them that they can learn about. But from that, they have moments that reflect upon their real life. And hopefully they can learn to, because Scraps is all about grief and about the loss of love, also with, accepting new love into your life. So
Mhm.
I hope people read Scraps and are able to shed things that were giving them grief or giving them hardship in their past with family, with old loves, with old friendships, and they're able to not let them be weighed down by that and accept what's to come. Because Gus ends up being a character who is very grief stricken and has to go through a lot to get over his mother passing, but he's able to accept the bright future that she would have wanted for him.
Yeah.
And you can only do that, whether it be your sexuality or life, just by being open.
Yes. You gotta make some noise.
Exactly.
Gotta get
Yeah.
moving and make some noise.
And fall down, like, in Scraps, like, like, don't be
Yeah.
afraid to fall down, make mistakes, and get back up again.
Yes. Boom.
Boom.
Yes. That is a pep
Um,
talk, guys.
yes, okay, so we are kinda getting towards the end here, but, one thing I would love, maybe I'll do one final question here, and if anyone has a final question from your, TikTok live, we'll do that.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you could speak directly to someone, like, so maybe your audience, who's just
Mhm.
discovering Scraps today, what would you want them to take away from your performance or the story as a whole?
Oh, it's a hard question. If they were just seeing the story for the first time or
If they
specifically
just
the
came to a
audiobook or the
TikTok
film?
and for the first time, they're like, "What is this?"
Well, okay, of course, I'd want them to go see the film and read the book and sort of discover it for themselves. I think, like we were talking about, it is a
Mhm.
process of self-discovery, and a lot of people relate to this story. So I guess I'd hope that they'd see something from themselves in the characters that we've created here, and learn something from that, and feel something, because I guess that at the end of the day is what a lot of art is all about, especially performance. We're like I said earlier, we're like, I use this sort of comparison a lot, but as performers, we're like a mirror to the audience for them to look at themselves and see themselves in these characters, or not see themselves, and learn and grow and change as a result. And I think
Mhm.
that is like one of the main reasons why what we do is so important. Why
Yes.
why a creative world and art and film and theater, books can be so powerful.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Agreed. That's great, and yeah, for me, it would be if you just find Scraps today, I hope they are, captured by the visuals and they immediately are like, "I need to know more." I hope they go watch the
Mm,
short film. They are, like, really caught up in you and Dorian's performances, and then they kind of fall in love with this love story, and they wanna know more, and they go down the rabbit hole of the book and the audiobook, and I hope that they go into it with an open mind, because a big thing that we keep hearing is people expect it to be, like, a light, quick read, or like they didn't expect it to be much like, oh, let me just try it out, and then they're like floored by the time it's done. And so
yeah.
I love that feedback, and I want more people to like be just like wrapped up in that world and get lost in Livingston, Montana for just one summer and
Yes.
see how
Oh
it
my
changes their life.
gosh.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh yes, get lost in the world of Scraps.
yeah, yeah. Because it's a
Totally.
nice little world to live in. You know. Okay, is there any last little questions for you or anything else you wanted to
Yeah,
say?
any
Peter?
last questions? What's your favorite genre of movie you like or you want to be in? Would love to be in action. Obviously drama. I think that's where a lot of acting sort of begins, and it is in the whole world of it. But I would love to do sci-fi too. That'd be cool. Action
Ooh,
sci-fi.
hmm,
Interstellar is my favorite movie. So,
very cool.
anyways.
Okay, guys. Well, we're kind of reaching the end of the interview, but if you're watching on Peter's TikTok or on YouTube here, Thank you for watching with us. We will have a lot more content with Peter on the channel as the months go on. If you haven't already seen the short film, I don't know what you're doing here, but you should go watch that.
Let's go
Uh,
watch.
Go buy the book on Amazon or your local bookstore. You can go to your local library or local bookstore and request that they order it from Ingram Spark. That would be lovely to have them at your local bookstore. And then you also can listen to the audiobook on Audible, Amazon, or again at your bookstore. And then if you want to watch the video version of Peter performing the audiobook, we will have those clips going out monthly on YouTube and our Patreon. So go support Peter. We're trying to raise money and more awareness for the feature film, and we have a lot of exciting things coming your way. So go check out Peter. And what's your where can they follow you, Peter?
Peder Lindell on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and all the above. Go check out Matthew.
Oh yeah, Matthew Francis J. But really, what
Yep.
matters here is Scraps. And yeah, thanks guys. We'll have more interviews coming, more with Peter, and have a great rest of your day.
Wonderful.
Bye
Love all
guys.
y'all.
Gus, if you were a girl, I'd kiss you right now.